Hello everyone and welcome back to the Council of Elrond. I'm joined with my brother Johnny as always, and today we are discussing the third episode released from the Rings of Power TV show season 2. Yeah, season 2, episode 2. Episode 3. Yes, and just to let you guys know that this will contain full spoilers for episode 3. So if you haven't seen the TV show, what are you doing here? Go watch that first and then come listen to us break it down and joke around with it and have all the fun and the crack. But yes, I just want to start off as well by saying thank you all so much for listening, as you always do, but also thank you so much for all of our new recent subscribers on YouTube.
Yes.
And to thank you, we have decided to do our whole Rings of Power series, our reactions, breakdowns on YouTube, full episodes where you can see our beautiful Anatar-like faces. And yeah, you can give us a like, drop us a
call it a gift.
Yeah, we are the Lord of Gifts. So yeah, I suppose I'm going to get straight into it. I've divided up this episode rather than our previous 2 episodes where we talk about scene by scene. This is going to first we're going to talk about the Southlands, then we're going to talk about Adar, and then we're going to talk about Numenor, and finally Eregion. So it kind of stuck in that order anyways, but some of it kind of jumbled around a bit. So so yeah, we'll start off with the beginning of the show. We see Beric, who was the horse. If you don't remember, it was Isildur's horse.
Great horse.
And he's kind of okay. If you haven't seen our most recent episode, we talk a lot about the timeline and everything's kind of all over the place. Sometimes we see the stranger and Nori, and it looks like it could be months later. We see Durin in episode 2, and it looks like this could be years later. He's disowned by his father. But this was kind of funny because we get to see Elendil, and it looks like the next day after the last episode of season 1.
Well, we got to see this scene in season 1.
Exactly. Well, but it was not the exact same.
No, we got this exact scene.
Oh, we got the exact scene.
This exact scene, because I was like, oh, this is good. They didn't even need to shoot this because it's the exact scene, like literally ripped from...
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because I do remember that shot of the horse running off.
And he's also, it's when he goes and he tries to calm down the horse. I was like, oh, here's this like Aragorn moment. But, I mean, he did that as well in a different scene where he calmed down the horse and Isildur was like, how did you do that? He was like, your mother taught me. And he was like, oh.
This is your burn. Like, how did you do that? Your mom.
Yeah. So he goes, your mother taught me. And then Isildur was like, when we get back to Numenor, will you teach me? He was like, I will teach you everything as soon as we get back to Numenor, which we will definitely do. And
that's such a Ned Stark moment. It's like, when we get back to Winterfell, I'll tell you all about your mother. And you're like, yeah, I'm never going back.
Yeah, and then we got this other scene where he was going to try and calm the horse, and Isildur's like best friend, Valandil.
Yeah,
was he the guy with the curly black hair? Yeah. He was there, and he was just like, oh, that horse is not going to be able to be calmed by anyone because he knows that his owner, whatever. And then
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Isildur, Elendil just kind of cryingly lets him go, and he's like, oh, go on, Beric.
It was a sad moment. But
Beric's great.
Beric is he's a great horse. But we get a nice, I know you're a fan of this, so I wanted to bring it up that we get a nice map transition.
We do. The maps are back.
Yeah, exactly. The map transitions, and we get to see like a little structure on the map that becomes the structure in real life. And God, I love that. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing.
It's great.
And then obviously we get to see Beric has made his way into the lands of Mordor, and there's orcs about, and I don't really know why the orcs are trying to kill this poor innocent little horsey, but maybe they're just hungry and they're kind of saying, come here, 4 legs. And that's kind of stupid. It's like, would you say like 2 legs to a bird or what? I don't know. It was like, it's kind of weirdly insulting and characterizing a horse.
Calling it 4 eyes or something.
Yeah. So but it was pretty cool what Beric does. His reaction to the orcs is,
oh yeah, he's like a ninja horse.
Yeah, like he just goes completely nuts on them, and he ends up impaling one of the orcs.
Kicks them in the nuts.
Yeah, gets one right into like a tree branch. It was quite gruesome. Again, I didn't think Beric would have a kill count, but I think we're on like two or three.
He took at least a couple of them out.
Yeah, he took a few orcs out, so that was pretty cool. So then we hear, and I know you brought this up when we were watching it. I didn't think much of it at the time, but on my rewatch, I was like, this is a bit jarring. They say, out there's the Black Forest. Nothing comes out of there alive. That's what the orc says about...
Yeah.
They're like, oh, should we go chase the horse into the... But you mentioned, like, how long has this Black Forest been here? How long have they been saying nothing comes out of there alive?
Yeah, because it's like, it's like an old forest that you've lived beside all your life, and your great grandfather told you don't go in there because whatever, because there's this story that's been around for centuries. This was probably a lovely green forest like last week.
That's exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But where are we on the timeline? This is what is annoying me
Well,
about this season.
we know where we are in the timeline. Well, no, sorry,
I mean in relation to season 1.
No, exactly. I was going to say, well, we know exactly because we just saw him being released by Elendil. But as you said, he ran away, and then this could be months later.
It could be months later, yeah.
Years later. But how has he survived on his own without it?
Well,
maybe just grazing and eating grass and having a great time.
He's grazing and eating ash
being his own master.
But we see the horse Beric wanders into what we're presuming with the rumours to be Shelob's lair. So we would know that this would be the area that's kind of on the... I didn't do any research for this, but it's on the west side of Mordor. Basically, what will become Cirith Ungol is like where Shelob's lair is about. So this is probably like the early parts of where Cirith Ungol would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Is that where we are? But like, it could be Shelob. It might not be. It could be some of her spawn.
Welcome to the Council of Elrond, guys, where we don't really do any research and we don't really know what's going on.
No, but you can't. This is reaction.
I'm only joking.
I don't know. I thought we would get like a Shelob name drop or something with all the rumors.
No, I'm glad we didn't.
No, of course. But
how would we?
But I thought like maybe one of those orcs might have said like, "Don't go there,
Shelob. She's always hungry. Yeah.
She doesn't have a feed."
Yeah.
So, what did you think of the whole spider lair anyways?
Yeah, very cool. I mean, we got to see a little couple of snippets from it from behind the scenes and from the trailers that were dropped before. We saw a couple of stills and different things like that of, is it Maxim Baldry?
Yeah.
Who plays Isildur, and so we knew that this was kind of coming, but it definitely lived up to the kind of freaky, horror nature of the kind of Shelob thing. And I know you pointed it out, I think on Twitter a couple of days ago, like the Shelob theme tune had like people plucking the strings on the violins and stuff. Like, so it had that kind of like tense music that makes you kind of go, oh my god, I'm so nervous, what's happening? And we had that scene with Isildur. He's got web all over him. He's up against a wall and he's
found himself in a predicament.
Also. He's in a very deep predicament. Yeah, a predicament. And there's an orc that's also in the same situation in front of him who looks like he's deceased. So he kind of like reaches out to try and grab his sword. And then we find that he's not dead at all and he's alive. And it's like this weird, they're both mummified and they're like fighting each other. It's like, but it was terrifying.
Oh, it was pure haunted house vibes where, this gross monster creature comes out of the wall, but only like from his torso.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed that. And I got a jump because I thought he was deceased, as you said.
Yeah.
Isildur. But he was not. And I thought the action was really good here. Also, like the eggs hatching.
Oh, it was gross.
It was gross. And I thought as well, this is what Rings of Power does really well. Like all this kind of, these creature designs, dark things. When things are dark, when there's like spiders, creepy crawlies, they seem to be, they were done perfectly. I thought some of these spiders, that's terrifying, seeing the spiders coming down while they're fighting.
Yeah,
while the
like,
orc and the Isildur are fighting.
Absolutely terrifying and horrifying and disgusting spiders that are so like just give you the heebie-jeebies. And Isildur is not even paying any attention because he's just fighting for his life against this orc while they're both tied up in spiders' webs. And I was just like, the stakes could not be higher. There's
something terrifying about the character being too occupied with something else when you can see the terror behind, and they do that in Shelob's lair when Frodo is trying to get out of the spider's web and you see the threat coming behind. That's kind of similar to...
But in that situation, Like,
That's
Frodo was also terrified of like Sheila behind him, and he was trying to get out.
Yeah.
But here it's like he's trying. But as soon as he kills the orc, and then it's just like, okay, that's the main threat that was killing me. That's done, and now it's dead silence, and he's creeping around. He's like, oh god, what is actually going on here? And that's where there's like the slightly bigger spiders are starting to come along, and it's just really freaky really
stuff.
really well done and well shot.
And he fights a kind of mediocre side. We get a glimpse of a big spider.
We do, yeah, huge and enormous.
But he doesn't fight that one.
No.
He fights it like a mediocre sized one.
And it's like that one kind of shows up and just like pops his head out, and then just kind of goes, not today. It just kind of goes back in. Like
he's like, I'm going back to bed. But actually, I noticed from the scene where Isildur is fighting the mediocre sized spider.
But just before you get into that, sorry, the the medium sized spider comes in and just explodes the head of the orc.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was kind of nuts. That was that sets up the initial threat of what this thing could do. So then you actually feel like, oh my god, Isildur is in some deep shit here. So yeah, that was pretty good, pretty gruesome. And I also was going to say that I noticed a lot of very similar sound effects to Peter Jackson's. Like I thought, like the actual screeching and crying of the spiders sound very similar.
Why would you change it? Like it was
I know,
so
but you could.
I know, yeah,
You could, and it's a very distinguishable sound that Sheila has. So I was pleasantly surprised to see
she's
that.
a northern spider, clearly.
Anyways, we see Isildur, he escapes, and that's happy. He rides off on Beric, and happy days. And he looks back, and then he arrives at a pool to what looks like it's going to be the future of the dead marshes or something.
Oh yes, he's going to have a little drink.
Yeah,
a little drinky drink.
And the water looks gross, and he obviously sees some gross Numenorian bodies, but he robs the shoes nonetheless. So that was nice.
That's right. Yeah, I remember to be like, what is that?
And zoomed down on the shoes, and he took them anyways, and he took them shoes and ran. But he travels on, and eventually he sees a bunch of bodies, and he's greeted by a lovely blade in the thigh, and
it's so sore.
Yeah, I know.
He's like, I'm fine, it's okay.
Yeah, and so we're finally introduced to this new character that we've heard so much about, Estrid, who claims that she thought he was an orc, and she kind of reminds me of
an orc.
No, she reminds me a little bit of Cassie from Skins. She seems a little bit spaced out. She's like, I'm sorry, I've never stabbed anyone before. And he's like,
it's a great callback.
Yeah, Cassie, and she's kind of got that kind of, I don't know, airheadedness about her. Is that a word?
Airheadedness.
Yeah, headedness.
I know what you mean.
Their interaction was very fun.
It was quite. I think that they have good chemistry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it kind of reminded me of that scene.
As soon as he took it out as well, and he's like, "You're supposed to leave it."
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, when he's fighting. He's got
he gets the two spears.
He gets the two spears in the thighs.
Yeah.
And he's just looking down. He's been stabbed. He's like, "You stabbed me in the leg." And he's like, "Ah!" Just screaming, looking at his leg, and
screaming at both of them. Yeah.
It kind of, I don't know, because it was like getting stabbed in the thigh is not like a jokey thing. There's massive arteries there.
You could die.
You could easily bleed out and die. And it was quite just a jokey thing. He was like. And she was like, I've never stabbed someone before, like what you were saying. And he was like, I've never been stabbed before. And just kind of his over back is kind of really fun and playful. Even though fun. You're kind of going, he should be I need to go to hospital.
Yeah. I'm going to die because we don't have access to proper medical care on Middle Earth.
Yeah. Free healthcare in this country. In this Middle Earth, what's going on here?
So, Estrid, what are we thinking? Speculations before the series came out that this could be potentially Isildur's future wife, because he's going to have to obviously have heirs of his own. So yeah, what do you think?
Oh, I didn't really hear anything about any speculation about her.
I'm sorry for spoiling that. Well, look, they're setting them up as a love interest. Let's even say love interest. Never even mind potential future wife, but potential love interest.
Yeah, obviously, then he was like, what business do you have in Pelagia? And she was like, oh, my betrothed,
yeah.
And he was, you could see on his face, he was kind of like, damn.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, yeah, she's hot.
Yeah.
So Isildur was bummed out. But anyways, before we get to that, they bond, they decide to go to Pelalgir, which is an old Numenorian settlement. And this is a settlement that will become the main port of Gondor in the future. So this is where we see a lot of Gondorians fighting the Corsairs. And also I thought that Isildur's and Estrid's musical theme sounded quite nice. So wanted to add that in there. I don't know.
Yeah, she has her own theme.
Okay, right. So it's not their like together theme. It's like her own one.
She has...
Because remember there was the Isildur and Elendil theme from season 1.
Yes. No, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if that's what played in that scene, but on the soundtrack there is a theme just called Estrid.
Very good. And you mentioned the whole betrothed thing, but I think that's trying to like fend off Isildur because she's
she's got ulterior motives.
Yeah, she's bullshitting. Like whatever she's saying, I wouldn't believe it. Anyways, they come across
never bullshit a shit bull. As they usually say.
The saying goes. I know that saying. So they come across, again, another fake injured fella who attacks, and they're basically saved by the lovely, flexible, flippy Elrond.
Why is he flipping around? He came in like Spider-Man.
I don't know. Like, it was a little bit weird. It was kind of cool, but...
It was cool, but it was like way too much. He wasn't like doing it to avoid like, oh, there's an arrow coming. I need to do like this sick ass flip.
Showing off.
He was just, completely showing off. But yeah, I didn't hate it either.
No, I didn't hate it. I think the way he comes out of the cart,
he explodes through the wall or something.
But he comes out backwards, twisting, which was kind of strange. Like feet first.
Yeah,
feet and ass first. So that was kind of.
He comes in like as if he's just like been off. Like he just like climbed a tree in order to have this awesome entrance where he's like jumps off this tree, does this flip, and then like falls over, and then he goes into the cart and does that like ass out.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was very weird. It was just lots of legs and flailing around the place.
But it was cool. Like, he's a cool character.
He's kind of like you won the Australian breakdancer.
Yeah. Yeah, he should have been in the Olympics. But he comes out and he basically gruesomely kills all the men. And then he storms off in a huff. And you're like, oh, what's going on with him?
Dead.
He kills them dead. And it's pretty gruesome. He's like stabbing men through the neck with...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But he goes off in a huff, collects firewood for his lover that he's going to burn, because that's what we see.
He's heading off to the pyre.
Another
bear theme in season 2, which is called The Pyre.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I haven't actually listened to that on the album yet, so I'm
good.
Looking forward to doing that. So Isildur Isildur and Estrid decide to join him to Pelalgir, or Pelargir, I should say, and that's where they're burning Bronwyn. So a lot of us knew that the actress that played Bronwyn in season 1 was not returning to the show. We're not really sure why, but she has her reasons. And yeah, they were going to have to kill her somehow, and it's turned out to be an off-screen death of an orc arrow, I believe.
A poisoned arrow that they didn't realize in the moment, I think, and it was like, oh, it actually had more poison and it did more damage to the human flesh than Arondir actually realized, and so he definitely going to blame himself for...
Arondir mentions there's a foulness in orc arrows not easily forgotten in human flesh, and it's accurate because we know from the books that elves heal and are less susceptible to wounds compared to men, and obviously Bronwyn was a woman, which is from the breed of man. Woman. Elf man. But yeah, but we
also, can I just say how casual Theo was when he's like, I'll light the fire. And he just comes over because like Arondra's struggling to like put the fire on the pyre, and Theo just like, here, give it to me, cheers. And he just chucks it on. He's like, there we are. And
and this kind of goes back to our thoughts on season 1, because I know we talked about how Theo and Bronwyn, they didn't have great chemistry at all. Like, they didn't seem like mother and son. It was just it was a little bit off for me. It wasn't one of the relationships that I liked. Now, I liked Arondir and I liked his interaction with everyone, and I bought his feelings in the scene. Like, he is struggling to put the flame down.
Oh yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah, it's because he feels so much. And then Theo comes in and he's like, oh, I'll burn her. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really like the kid that much, but I also feel like he is being set up to possibly end up being an Nazgul. So
yeah,
going
that's just
down
a
that
theory that we've talked about before. That like, I mean, I think it'd be class if we start off seeing someone who's kind of this innocent child, as he kind of was at the beginning of season 1, and then he finds that blade that kind of starts to corrupt him, and then he ends up going down this dark path, and hopefully that would be a really, really cool way of like, we're seeing someone who was initially good, then completely go down the wrong path and end up being like, you know, one of the servants of the Dark Lord. That would be class. Now I will say regarding Theo and the actor, I think his name is Tyro Mohavedin.
Okay, wow,
like that.
Good.
So we haven't seen much of him, and I don't think it's in this part. I think it might be in a later scene. I'm not sure where he actually gets a bit more dialogue. And just from the few little bits of dialogue that we had, I much prefer just the tone of his voice in this, because I think it's been a couple of years since they shot the first one.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, I think he's probably just going through puberty.
At the time
of the first
I never
season.
picked up on that, and you're right, because the fact I didn't pick up on it was because it was a little off-putting.
Was really off-putting in season 1 altogether. It felt like, I'm not sure
deep and
how many
harsh.
of our, you know, what the demographic is, but like for all the guys listening, and if you're over the age of 15, you'll remember that period between like, I don't know, 13 and 15, your voice is changing, and sometimes
My voice never changed.
Sometimes you could go like for a week with it just sounding like normal, and then suddenly you just let out this little squeak, and be like, "Arr!" And you're like, oh god, that's really, really embarrassing. And so sometimes
so weird to think that.
Sometimes to counter that, you just put on this like over the top deep voice so that you'd make sure you wouldn't squeak. Well, that's
okay, mother.
So I feel like that's the vibe I was getting from like season 1 Theo, and then now in season 2 it's like, oh no, now he's a couple years older, he's not worried. So I felt like his voice just sounded a lot more natural.
Right. Okay.
Again,
right.
as I said, we've only got a couple of little scenes of dialogue, and hopefully it's going to be a little bit better, because it did kind of take me out of it in season 1. And
yeah, a little bit.
As you said, the chemistry between him and his mother was non-existent, really.
Yeah, because the chemistry between Bronwyn and Arondir was great. And I think Arondir
was.
Yeah, I think it was. Well, it was okay. Maybe not great. It was really good.
It was. I would say it was good.
But I just think Arondir, Ismael Cruz Cordova, he oozes class. He cruises and oozes class, and he's a great guy. He's really cool.
Ishmael Ooze Cordova.
Ooze Class Dova. And I just feel like he is a great actor, and no matter what situation they throw him into. Now, I only know him from this TV show, but I just feel like
I know his entire back catalogue.
Yeah, his whole IMDb. But yeah, I don't know what about this episode. I really felt for him, and especially when he's trying to reach out to Theo, and he just rejects him, and I'm like, Poor Arondir. Like he's
lost the same way that Theo's lost.
Yeah,
he's probably
he actually cares about this woman, whereas Theo's like, hello, mother. But also, I just want to say,
and also, sorry, at the end of season 1, it seemed like Theo was like looking up at Arondir as in, you're my new hero, and all this kind of stuff, and he was like really warm to him, and they was just like, now my mother's dead and I hate you.
Yeah, you killed her. Yeah, but anyways, I'd like to shout out to Amazon for giving us a little flashback of Bronwyn, just so we remember what she looked like as well. I was like, thanks, guys.
Yeah,
that's who's dead. And we also get a little, a little bit
like in loving memory of one of those.
Yeah. What's the song they always play?
In the arms of an angel.
Something like that, yeah. But it was also nice to hear the theme of Bronwyn and Arondir back for that. So I thought that was
that was nice, yeah.
Pretty cool. So moving on, what do we have next? Theo comes and he dumps the fire. Like you mentioned, there was kind of Anakin of him as well, where he he drops the flame.
So basically, when Dave and I are watching something together, we'll just have conversations and dialogue in like one word. So like sometimes like Theo is just standing and I just go to do Anakin. And that's it. And he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
It was pretty Anakin like, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, Theo is just grumpy.
And sorry, to explain to the audience, what do we mean by Anakin? His mother dies, and that's going to send him further down the
path of the dark side.
Of the dark side, and that anger leads to fear, leads to anger, anger leads to hate, And hate leads to the dark side.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's it. I don't even know if that's correct, but
it is correct.
We both got it, so that's good.
Maybe we're both just equally wrong.
Equally wrong, and 2 wrongs make a right. So
we're nailed it.
Theo says that he wants nothing to do with his stepdaddy, and then they talk of the sunken elven continent of Beleriand, which is kind of cool again, but yeah, it's kind of annoying how Theo's just like, all you are to me is ashes now, and I don't know, it was kind of annoying. But anyways, Theo asks if Arondir, over all the time he's watched over them, did he ever know his father? And I want to throw this to you. Like, do you think this will be an important character in the future?
I don't. I know there's loads of speculation online, and loads of people are like, "Oh, Arondir, I bet he is." I was like, I don't.
Oh, really? Well, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, loads of people online are like, "Oh, Arondir is definitely his dad," and I was like, well, "No, then he'd be half elven, and he'd probably have some elven features, and
but also,
ears, or
what would be the whole? Why would it be a whole secret? It
I know,
seems like a new relationship.
I know that's exactly my point. Why I have disregarded this as a like.
All right, I never knew that, but I heard a while ago that we will be hearing who Theo's father is in this season, and I never thought about it before, and I never cared about it. But the fact that I've
never really thought about it, because it's just one of the characters that didn't resonate.
The fact that that's a rumor now, or that's something that we probably will hear,
it probably means it's going to be important.
Probably means so.
It's Shelob.
Heard it here first. Shelob. Isildur then discusses with Theo aqueducts and indoor plumbing and all that. And they also talk about the grandness of Numenor, like a little bit. And Theo offers finding Isildur's horse Beric. And that was...
How would you know?
Yeah, I didn't really get that. What is it?
Sure, look.
They're bandits, but sure, look, we're brushing over that.
Yeah.
We see the suspicious Estrid is heating a knife, and her and Isildur discuss dead mums, and Isildur discusses how it was his fault that his mother drowned, and that was quite sad.
That was very sad.
That was quite sad.
Poor Isildur. That made me kind of, I don't know, ache in my chest.
Yeah, like, it's not really his fault, obviously, but he was the one that she was trying to save.
His fault.
It was his fault, yeah. He was
Hashtag blame Isildur.
Yeah, blame Isildur.
It was really sad, and it was like just a lovely little kind of sharing that like vulnerability with Estrid, and so yeah, again, definitely setting up for like a romantic relationship here, because he's only known the girl a few minutes. He's like just told her his deepest, darkest secret.
That's true,
and he's being completely vulnerable with her, and he's opening up and sharing everything, and he's like, look, laying his heart on the line there in front of her, and being like, oh.
And it was nice to see Theo eavesdropping and kind of crying about it. Like, he's getting to open up a little bit, at least, not to Arondir or anyone, but at least he's getting a good old cry.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Don't keep those feelings in.
But exactly, let them out.
Don't bottle them down, guys.
But eventually he goes and interrupts their little conversation to go try and get Beric back with Isildur. And then we see sneaky Estrid again on her own, and she's there burning up, or she reveals the mark of Mordor, and she's trying to burn it off. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
because I can tell you, I didn't think much about it. Like, the way the thing showed us is like, oh, she's evil.
Yeah,
but like we saw the previous episode, randomers are getting burnt by this or dying.
Yeah. So no, I agree with you, because as soon as we saw that, I was like, I was kind of like, typical, of course, like the one. I was like, I don't know, I didn't really love that thing, and then you immediately said when we were watching it, well, I mean, it was either that or death, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So I was like, I hope it's not she's on this solo mission as like, she gets branded by Adar or whoever a couple of weeks ago, and now she's like, I will go on a suicide mission for my new king and lord Adar. I'm going to infiltrate this camp and whatever. Because I was like, is that the way they're going? That
I think it's
she's
hiding.
Red
herring. And I think,
hopefully.
I think it was also silly to show us random people being branded the way they are. Maybe they should brand like the lieutenants or something.
Or just show people like they only get branded when they're like, I really want to live and die for Adar, and I want to, I don't know. The feeling that I got was like, she's gonna eventually be an evil character who's coming in to infiltrate and to like get information and then send that back, and it's gonna be a bad thing in the end. I hope what you say is right, that it's just later she'll get found out and they're like, she's evil, and she's like, no, you don't understand. I got caught and they were like, we're going to kill you or else you come and join us. So I lied to them and said, yeah, okay, I'll serve you. And they branded me. But I mean, I didn't mean it when I swore my allegiance to them.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I kind of feel like I'm rolling my eyes because I'm like, I can already see how the whole story plays out. This little side plot. It's like they're going to go on, Isildur and her.
Yeah, and there's going to be a miscommunication, and there's going to be a misunderstanding,
and Isildur will see the burn on the neck, and then he'll be like, "What's that?" And then she'll be like, "No, is that her death?" And he'll leave, and I'm just like, "Oh, come on, it's just."
I know. Can we just keep past this?
This is taking up time from Celebrimbor and Anadar
and the Harefoots. I want to know what's happening with Marigold back in whatever the name of the place was. The old
sock. Yeah, so this storyline wraps up when Theo and Isildur sneak up on the bandits who captured Beric. Theo reveals his symbol of Mordor and says, "I'm basically one of you," and they're like, "No, that's different." And he's like, "I'm better. I've stabbed myself and got blood," and they're like, "Yeah, whatever." And then who comes to the rescue?
Oh, the Ents.
Yes. Well, this is what we assume, but it seems pretty obvious. We saw them in the trailers. We've all talked about it again. So, like, you know.
it's the Ents, guys. Sorry.
It's the Ents or the Entwives. We don't know yet. But it's definitely Ents. We get to see Theo lifted up by one. And why do they kill the bandits but not kill Theo and Isildur? I suppose it's just...
Maybe it's just that kind of TV thing. Maybe they've actually just been watching these bandits and they're like, those guys are jerks.
Maybe.
Little orcs.
Yeah, so maybe they...
Maybe it's the Entwives and they actually know what's going on and they know how to tell the difference between an orc and a man.
Possibly.
Because Treebeard certainly didn't have a clue.
He doesn't, but...
He needs to go to Specsavers and get his eyes checked.
That's very true. Right, well, that concludes the storyline of... what even was that? Like the Southlanders. So I suppose that was that category.
Hurrah!
So moving on, this is a smaller storyline. In this, we get to see Adar, or this is what I've called Adar. Anyways, we see Glug, who is the orc played by Robert Strange, I want to say his name is.
Okay.
He was the guy that came out on San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, he's been all over the marketing.
Yeah. And we see, exactly. I think actually Amazon's profile picture on Instagram and Twitter or X and all that is Robert Strange as Glug at the moment. So we see him talking to Adar, where he says that he just wants peace and not war, as he goes to his orc wife and his orc child. So Jonathan, what are your thoughts?
They're not good, David.
They're dark thoughts.
They're dark thoughts.
Meant for Mordor.
I don't care for this storyline of orcs having like loving.
I know.
I mean, maybe they're like, oh, we're going to explore new territories, but like, I'm sorry, orcs are just through and through evil. They're not good. There's no redeeming qualities. I know that they're trying to make them a bit more, we're brothers and sisters and blah blah in this season, and Adar is their father and whatever, and maybe they're just misunderstood. But I'm sorry, like, I mean, just from everything we've known about orcs all our lives, it's just like they're just pure evil.
Yeah. Okay, but first I want to read out a quote from the Silmarillion. So this says, for the orcs had life and multiplied after the manner of the children of Iluvatar, and deep in their dark hearts the orcs loathed the master whom they served in fear, the maker only of their misery. So it's not like complete. It's not out of the question. We've talked about the. We've talked about orc lore
But first of all, if people think, oh, but they just spawn out of the ground like in Peter Jackson's films, that's not correct.
No.
And as what you just read there, we've spoken about that before on podcasts where we're like, okay, they actually
the more philosophical
they reproduce.
Idea. Yeah.
And we actually spoke about how Peter Jackson's idea may have come from an actual earlier writing from Tolkien where it was like this combination of like mud and sticks and earth and whatever. And so that was like one of Tolkien's original ideas, but he went back on that and then he kind of said that they took after the ways of, did you say the children of Iluvatar or what did you say there, the elves or?
The children of Iluvatar.
The children of
multiplied
Iluvatar,
after the manner of the children
AKA
of Iluvatar.
the elves. So we know that they do reproduce in the same way, but I don't think that means that they have a loving home and they have like a husband who's worried about his child at home. I think it's
I think some things
they're more animalistic. I think they're
Maybe they're breeding.
Yeah, I think that they breed, and it's like, you know, the parents barely care for the children. It's just like survival of the fittest.
I'll tell you what I think, because I just think this is not something that I wanted to think or discuss or talk about. I think it's just something that you're like, how does it happen? You could just say in one line in one book that Tolkien wrote that, yes, they do reproduce, but we don't see them that way. Like sometimes we don't have to see every single detail of the orcs' life, and like, you know, we're not putting a GoPro on them and seeing them as a young baby and how they grew up. So we don't need to see this, and I don't see how this is going to develop into the plot to make us still hate orcs. I feel like it's actually worrying me about this new character Glug, who seems to be taking over from Waldrig. It's making me feel like we're actually going to have empathy for this orc.
Yeah,
and I think that
I think you're probably right that because even in season 1. There were certain parts with the orcs where it was just like they're just looking for a home, and it's like,
I get that. I liked that.
I know I did like
but
that.
That's as far as I want the orcs to go. I want them to be displaced people, and they want the. Yeah, I don't know. They're still horrible.
Yeah,
they're awful.
But you have to see them as just through and through evil. They are like the representation of evil, and so that's why when you see our heroes just like, I don't know, just like killing like millions of them without a care in the world, we shouldn't feel those poor orcs.
No,
because you know, I don't want to be like, oh, and he has a child back home, and like, you know,
and then he was cradling his horrible wife orc. Like, she gurgles as he comes close. She's like, I'm like, am I supposed to like feel empathy for that?
She was beautiful, dude.
Beautiful on the inside.
With her black blood.
Yeah, so I think...
I don't want to discuss this anymore, because I don't think it's worth the screen time, but I know that this was a very, very short scene in this episode. I know that's probably going to be the most controversial, most like just blow up everywhere. There's going to be 100 million YouTube videos that are like, oh my god, it's such a disgrace because they did this. I kind of agree with it to an extent, but at the same time, I'm just like, just don't think about it too much and don't focus on it too much.
Those aren't the ones that worry me too much. It's some of the accounts that are going like, oh my god, this is amazing. Finally, we're seeing representation for the orcs. I don't know, like, it's just like, we don't need that. We just, they're supposed to be evil cannon fodder, and that's all that they should be, in my opinion. And so guys, let us know what you think, because again, we haven't really seen too much of the reactions. I'm just assuming that's what the reactions will be. So let us know, did you like this plotline? Did you like this change of orcs being caring mothers and fathers to caring orc babies? So yeah, anyways, we'll move on, because in the same setting we do see our first glimpse of Damrod, and also accompanied with heavy metal from Bear McCreary in a tune. So what did you think about that?
I will say that when this is the first song that they released.
Yes, it was the Ballad of Damrod.
About 2 weeks ago.
I think it was.
And I remember like, oh, new Rings of Power music. Oh my god. I clicked it on and I was like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting.
No.
And it was completely like, I was like, how are they going to fit this in? I knew it was, you know, it was the ballad for this big new troll. But I was still just like, I can't see how it's going to be. And I was like, oh, they definitely won't put it in the extra scene at all. It'll just be like, you know, played at the end credits or something. And maybe they'll just play the instrumental version of something when he's coming in. But they actually played the song and it fit. It fit perfect.
It didn't just fit. Like, I thought it was incredible, but also it definitely wasn't the exact same.
No, I feel like they pulled back the vocals a little bit.
Yeah.
Which also was quite cool. It felt like the vocals were a little bit more distant.
Yeah. It felt more like a distant chant.
Also, the singer of this song, he is the lead singer from Meshuggah.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Meshuggah?
Well, I heard a little bit about him when Bear McCreary released this album.
They're quite a big, like,
Meshuggah.
Yeah, like like scream metal.
Yes, I think they liked one of our tweets when I mentioned Bear McCreary.
All right,
possibly.
All right, maybe.
But like, to do with
I don't know any of their music, but I'm kind of into metal and some softer genres of metal. I'm not into scream metal or anything, but like there's just one of those names I've definitely heard thrown around, so he's kind of well known in that area, and it's pretty cool that they're just screaming on this track while Damrod comes in and makes his entrance.
It was deadly. I loved. I
fit really well.
I love seeing the troll arrive up the hill troll. Damrod. There's been plenty of discussions why he's named Damrod, but we'll leave that be because people have talked about it to death. Basically, Damrod was one of the names of Faramir's. One of the guys in Faramir's.
Faramir.
In his like legion or whatever you call it. Basically, kind of like a ranger archer guy, and he gets killed on the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. And anyways, it's kind of like a Gondorian name, and everyone's like, why is a hill troll named Damrod? But I think it sounds cool. I'm for it. He's huge. I like how he throws down an orc's head, the messenger. That's pretty dope.
He's got nice man boobs.
And Adar mentions that he's a killer of stone giants. He's an eater of dragon bones. He said he's from the Ered Mithrin, which is a mountain range just north of Mirkwood. So it's cool to get a lot of these like little name drops and stuff. And also, interestingly enough, he's voiced by Benjamin Walker, who plays Gil-galad.
Right. Yeah.
So Gil-galad is playing Benjamin Walker is playing Gil-galad. He's singing on the track, and he's also playing a mountain troll, or a hill troll. Sorry.
But just in general, Damrod, like the style is so cool,
and his voice is
perfect. But
Love
just
it,
like actual, just the visual style, the way they went with the artistic design, I think they absolutely nailed it.
He's got a little sword piercing his nipple, which is quite cool.
Oh, he does.
He's got a little knife there.
Nice chest hair as well going on.
Yeah,
very.
He's like dad bod, more like Damrod dad bod.
Damn bod.
He arrives and he speaks English. That
was also a bit of a shock. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I expected that because I heard he was being voiced by Benjamin
Fair
Walker.
enough, yeah.
So, but he goes, "Where is Sauron?" And I'm like, what? What's his gripe with Sauron? What? Like, Sauron literally just became. We talked about it in our previous episodes. He just became the leader of the bad guys, and everyone hates him all of a sudden.
All the orcs like, boo!
And I'm like, this is not the Sauron that I thought we knew.
Yeah.
But anyways, that concludes the Adar storyline of this episode. So guys, let us know your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. Did you like the appearance of Damrod and the music? Because we loved it. So moving on to Numenor. So we have a funeral for a king, which is quite nice. And Earion is clearly pissed that Elendil doesn't really speak much of Isildur, and I thought it was kind of funny how Elendil is just a little bit. He doesn't seem to know what's going on. He's like
off with the fairies a bit.
Yeah, he's like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, if you'd rather like attend these funerals than speak about your own son. And yeah, I don't know. He's a little bit all over the place. Obviously, we get Queen Regent Muriel. She appears with some deadly Numenor music, which I loved. The whole I don't know, the drums beating the kind of African Egyptian style at the back. Felt good.
So cool, yeah.
Did we get Numenor in the previous 2 episodes? Or is this the first episode? This is the first episode featuring Numenor.
Yeah, this is the first time.
Pretty sure it is. And obviously Elendil at the end of the last end of the last season, Muriel goes blind, and now Elendil has become basically her eyes. So he's like telling her what's going on, what's happening around her, and we get introduced to a new character, Lord Belzagar. No, Kemen is back, but Lord Belzagar has come. He's a new character. He looks
Kemen is back inside.
He looks like he's going to be an important character because
Lord who?
Belzagar is his name. They mention him because Muriel asks, "Does Farazan have his ears, or is it the other way around?" And Elendil replies, "The latter." Yeah, meaning Belzagar basically will be plotting with Farazan this season. And if you have read the books, you know that shit's going to hit the fan. So, this is another moment. We talked about... Okay, who did we talk about? We talked about Elrond defying Gil-galad. We talked about... What was the other one? Oh, the miners defying Durin.
Yeah.
And then this was the biggest one.
Oh my God.
Some woman just slaps the Queen Regent.
Slaps her. Right in the face, right in front of everyone.
And she isn't beheaded.
In the Queen's court.
Not beheaded immediately.
No, like, kill her instantly. Not even wait for the order and the command.
No.
The Queen's guard should just jump in and murder her straight away.
Yeah. And murder all of her family. But So that's bizarre, and that's one of the things that, again, it takes me out a little bit, because I'm like, I get the message they're trying to convey. I like that
she's a sound queen.
Yeah, she is sound, and she hugs her, and she basically is like, look, I feel your pain as well. We both have shared loss. But I'm like, it takes me out of the world, because I can't believe in the world if this is the way that the Queen Regent would be treated. Because, third time bringing it up now, but like, this wouldn't happen in Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. Like, that person would have their arms taken off. Yeah. I'm not saying this is correct, but I'm saying that's the world that they're in, and that's how I feel this world should be, in a way. Yeah. I know it's Numenor, but like...
No, I agree with you completely.
Yeah, I don't know.
And as you said, we're 3 episodes in, and it's like the third time that we've got this kind of...
Defying a royal.
Yeah, just basically like spitting in the face, like figuratively, but then almost literally in this instance here, where it's like just completely like no. And as we said in the previous one with Durin in episode 2, he just kind of like shoves him in the back and like punches him, and it's like has a fist fight for no reason with the prince.
Yeah,
who's just like having a bit of like, he's down on his luck because he's been kind of, he's having a spat with his father, but like. They should all know, like his father's very hot-headed, and so is he. So they're kind of like Oasis. It's like we knew that this could happen. They're going to break up, but they'll be back together.
But as well, like we talked about the Elrond thing where he defies his king, and this is a really interesting thing that writers can do, and they do this in shows like Game of Thrones, where they're like, we have 2 friends, Elrond and Gil-galad, but because of politics and because of like royalty and hierarchy and everything, he has defied his king. Now Gil-galad,
there's got to be repercussions.
There's got to be repercussions. Gil-galad has to punish him some way, and the punishment has to fit the crime, and the crime is very high, and that's how you make the writers come up with a really interesting way of how both of them can win. How to get around it, but that just doesn't happen. No. It's just they're back
here. They
together.
Get around it with a hug.
Yeah, and then here, this is just...
She's like, I feel your pain, and it's like...
Yeah, so this was weak for me.
It was very weak, yeah.
Anyways, moving on. We want to be positive again. So
I enjoyed watching it play out. I thought, like, just because I think the whole thing is visually stunning. I like the costume design of most of Numenor, and I think everything looks great. But like, I was just like, oh, come on, Queen, show a bit of strength there, and be like, if you come up and slap me in the face, you're going to know about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, have a bit of self-respect, woman. But anyways, Muriel is up in her tower. She hides a bracelet from Pharazôn. We don't really know I don't know what the relevance of this bracelet is. I don't know to you, but anyways.
We learn later on.
Do we?
Again, it's pure kind of weird thing that, like, it's almost like the sword is the key to open the door to get up to the...
Okay, but what relevance would it have been to Pharazôn? He would have
just been like, oh, nice bracelet.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, she hides it from Pharazôn. They chat about their dead daddies, and then he basically offers her the crimson gown for the future or the white gown for the past, or like a representation of the past. This is for her coronation.
Same as what her father wore for his coronation.
Exactly. Muriel just chooses the color white because that's what the father chooses.
No, but she said it's...
I remember my father...
Yeah, but she says, it's more humble.
Yeah, she does. She says it's more humble, which is fair. I think she's been a bit stubborn here now.
But being like a royal, and like we've seen her get slapped in the face and she doesn't, get angry about it. She's showing humility in that, and then she's like, I'll have the white because that's the humble one. It's like, yeah, but we like to have a nice humble queen, but you're not a pushover queen.
Yeah. She doesn't seem to get that. I don't understand, why doesn't she have advisors that are saying all this information? Why do we have to break it down and go, why are you making these decisions? Are you not smart enough to make these decisions yourself? Like, why be over humble? Why not be a bit more commanding? Anyways, Pharazôn recommends the Crimson as the people need new change and a new type of ruler, and Muriel refused. And we actually joked that while we were watching, we were like, why didn't he just give her whatever color? Because she's not going to know. She's blind.
This feels like white, but it could be crimson. Yeah.
And we do see Pharazôn, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, we see Pharazôn wearing that red at the coronation later, which is cool. It's kind of a showing of defiance, I suppose. He's gone the opposite of what the queen wanted. Not like right out there, but like, you know, that's kind of what that represents.
But not that she could see his defiance.
No, she couldn't see it, but it's for the audience, Jonathan.
Yes.
So now our fan favorite Kemen, he's here with Pharazôn, Aarion, and Belzegar to plot to supplant Miriel, and Aarion mentions that she has stolen the Palantir, and this will be part of their whole idea of overtaking the
Very ballsy for her to just steal the Palantir the first time she's come into contact with it.
Again, it's kind of like, I was curious to see how she was going to make the big change from her character from season 1 into season 2 or 3 or whenever she starts to go a little bit darker. But I suppose the assumed death of her brother is enough, but it's all off screen. It's like season 1 she was a lovely girl. Season 2 she's like, my brother's dead and I've stolen Palantirs.
I mean, yeah, that's true. We did see in season 1 she was very like starting to get really against the idea of, like, you know, we could see that in Elendil's family, he's got a son who's kind of going to be kind of like him and align with the faithful, and his daughter seemed to be going the opposite way, and she was starting to like align herself with Pharazôn. And then when she starts dating him, and it's like, okay, well, she's even more ingrained in that family and whatever. So I do understand that from that side, but yeah, as you just said, she had this honor to go and sketch the king before he died, and then he accidentally thinks she's Miriel and lets her go upstairs, and she goes up and she's like, I'm just gonna steal this Palantir while I'm here. It's like,
I know, like, it's just one of the things
ballsy.
where I don't feel like I believe that character would do these things. So like when it happens, it's shocking, but not for right reasons. It's just I just don't think. I don't know. Anyways, the less said about that, the better, in my opinion. We do see Kemen and Valandil get into a bit of a scrap of words.
That was cool.
Kemen's such a prick, isn't he? Like,
I kind of like him.
I know. I like him as well.
I'm not gonna lie. I think he's kind of fun. I think he looks like a complete nerd, and like he should be a complete loser, but he's actually quite like charming. And he's got like a nice way with words.
He's charming with the Aarion
in season 1, really. Like, but she's like, I'm not in the habit of going off with strange young men. So he's like, very wise. If I see any, you'll be the first to know. That was a really cool little quip.
That was smooth.
And even here, he kind of. Well, no,
he straight out just says like, "Oh, it's a shame that you couldn't attend the funeral or whatever," and then the guy kind of insults him back, and he's like, "Did you just insult my father?"
He's like, "No, I was calling you a dick."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Belzegar then says, "Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite moments as well." He goes, "Well, after that fight, he goes, well, I'd say that's worth another ale," which I loved.
Similar to, we should open a first age bottle.
Yeah, I don't know why that adds so much, but it adds so much realism where like
cheers.
A little scrap happens, and then someone just goes, I think that's not worth another drink, because that's what would happen.
Yeah,
in Ireland, anyway. Then we get the coronation. The music is incredible in this scene, as it often is in Numenor itself.
It has not taken a dip in season 2, the music.
No, but one thing that I will say hasn't taken a dip but continues from season 1 that I thought would change is the kind of grandness, especially in this scene. And I kind of mentioned this in our breakdown in episode 1, where I compared to like the House of the Dragon coronation scene, where we see a huge room of people. So do you remember when Sauron in the very first episode introduced himself, he's seeing like a little room of orcs or whatever. This is the same thing again. This is the coronation of the Queen of Numenor, and it's in her like little hall that's barely a quarter full. And I was thinking, okay, maybe at the time I was like, right, this must be like the really higher up, most important
just
people.
her most, her closest, most confident, or her confidants.
And then immediately someone shouts out, Queen of Lies! And I was like, how did this person get invited? Is this all of Numenor in this one room? Like, this is the people of Numenor. So it was just one of those things, again, that just took me out a little bit. I was like, either do one or the other. Like, why can't they do CGI people? Because like that's what House of the Dragon do, I assume, or Game of Thrones,
of course,
or like even in the opening sequence of Rings
all
of
of
Power.
these people that I'm looking at on screen right now, they're
real.
all real actors. I mean, that's great, but secondly, as you just said,
Have it in a huge big court. Have it like on the top of Minas Tirith where we see Aragorn's coronation. We see thousands of people.
There's probably 150 people on screen right there.
Yeah. It's just not enough. I made the excuses in season 1 where I was like...
Yeah, so did I. And we were kind of going maybe... just
COVID and all that. Yeah. But like...
even with COVID, like, I mean, I understand not having that many extras, but like even with COVID, get a couple extras and then just CGI them in. And if people are complaining about CGI, you'd be like, look, it was COVID. We have to...
Yeah, but I'm okay. I'm like, CGI is fine. Just work the camera better. Have a better location. So
yeah,
it just took me out, and especially because then obviously,
and again, like as we've seen this room so many times, and we haven't seen that much of Numenor. We've seen that, and true. Again, one thing that really annoyed me was in season 1 they used the same alley like 3 times. Do you remember, like the one that
the fight,
the one that Elrond had to fight in? There was another fight there with Isildur and his 2 friends. They had when he was like, okay, I'll give you, you can hit me in the face. He was like, I need, going to give me 3 hits or whatever. He was like, they settled on 2, and he punched him twice. Yeah. That was in that same corridor. And then when Galadriel was given like a masterclass in sword fighting, they were like, oh, the elf is fighting, and Isildur was walking down that same corridor, and he turns around and legs it back to go. I'm like, do you like you're showing us like this like the landscape view of this enormous, just incredible city. And then they're showing us one. It's like, I don't know. It's like they've only got the budget for one little room, and we know that's not true. You've got the budget to be able to just shoot it in different locations, or even just go into like the volume and do it like just have a CGI background. I don't care, but like
I know, yeah. Like sometimes people complain about CGI or saying like this is clearly shot in the volume, but I'm like, good. Sometimes
the volume is class. Sometimes if people don't know what the volume is. It's what was used a lot. Like I think The Mandalorian really pushed it to the fore.
Yeah.
Where it's basically just, it's not CGI because it's all put onto a screen, so the actors are acting... It's a complete
360 digital, like, globe.
Yeah, so the actors are acting inside this globe, and so the background is projected onto it. So what we see in the final thing, they're looking at that while they're acting. So it's
perfect for the Mandalorian. If you guys don't know, he wears a completely, like, reflective suit of armor, and so, like, while they're filming that, you can actually see all the reflections on his suit from around him because he's basically looking at... like some Star Wars planet around him, and it looks all real and cool and on camera. So something like that. I know they shot most of Thor: Love and Thunder on that as well. I'm not saying it's a great movie, but like it can be done. It's So anyways, we'll move on. Muriel speaks to the people. Aarion interrupts, mentioning Isildur, and feels that Muriel is taking counsel from an elf stone Palantir, and she drops it. Thought it was a cool sound effect when she dropped it.
It was very heavy.
And of course, I immediately thought about
it's a heavy stone.
No, I was thinking about like when Grima throws the stone outside of Orthanc.
And what does it do?
It cracks the step. And it doesn't crack the step here. So, but I thought that was the kind of
obviously it's from a much higher height than it's also from, but it cracks the step. And why is that significant? Is because it cracks the step of this material
of Numenorian. Like
it's
structure.
That black tower that
it's like indestructible.
If people don't know what we're talking about, the black tower that Saruman lives in, that's the Tower of Orthanc, and the black material. Why is it black? Well, it's made from this stone. Bad tower.
Evil.
That stone was brought over from Numenor, and basically it's just impenetrable. You cannot scratch it, you can't dent it, you can't do anything. They also use the same material on the lower level of the outer wall in Minas Tirith. And again, it was just like they couldn't do any damage to this thing at all, but when Grima throws down the Palantir, it actually cracks one of the steps that it lands on. So it's like this thing has so much weight and whatever,
and it's obviously made of a much harder and heavier material.
Just cool little nerdy things.
It's cool.
So it was cool when we got like another Palantir being thrown to the ground.
And I thought it would have been nice, but again, to break a step there.
How much does she know about that thing? She could have been like, if I throw this, it could just smash.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, but look, I'm not even going to bother.
Who knows?
Pharazôn says Numenor's true ruler would never place trust in an elvish artifact. So I thought that was very clever. He's basically pretending.
He's like, oh no, it couldn't be her, even though he knows that she's going to have to admit to it.
So and that's what she does.
Genius.
That was pretty smart. She admits to it,
but he's very clever.
Muriel,
you can see that he's very, very sneaky and knows exactly how to manipulate people.
And we see Elendil tries to grab it, and for some reason he's like thrown way back. So I don't know. Is like the Palantir got like explosive powers? I didn't really understand why.
Explosive diarrhea.
Yeah, and then a squabble breaks out, and this is again where it really hit me with like, is this like all the townspeople of Numenor? Like, I don't know. This is a riot forming, but yeah. And anyways, they are interrupted by a giant eagle, which is apparently, according to Farazan, rare and a good omen. I don't know why.
Good omen? I thought it was a bad omen.
No, he says a good omen. He's saying, like earlier on, what?
Yeah.
He was talking to Muriel and she says something about, I remember my father wearing white and eagles. And he goes, well, I don't know if an eagle would show up, but if it did, it would be a rare sight and a good omen or something.
I completely understood a bad omen. And I was like, why would it be a bad omen for the eagles to grace? Because, I mean, fair enough, he's not that keen in the elves, but like, you can't hate on the eagles. They're class.
No, I think he was just saying like that's...
Right, maybe I just misheard it. I just completely thought he said that would be a bad omen.
Or maybe I misheard it twice, but that's what I...
probably not.
Anyways, Farazan, so then basically that's what happens. An eagle approaches, and I was kind of like, okay. We were all a bit wondering what was going on in the trailer when we saw an eagle. Yeah. Farazan approaches, and then people start cheering and chanting and going, Farazan, Farazan.
Yeah, and they're like, look, the eagle prefers Farazan.
Yeah, they're like, it favors... And I'm like...
How did you... Where are you getting that from?
Weird. I
don't get that at all.
I don't know what's going on.
Again, like, unless like that guy who was in the crowd, he was a fan of Farazan. He was like, I'm just going to take this moment to pretend...
Well, that guy was Belzegar. He was right.
Sorry, I didn't know.
So I get that, but I'm like, first of all, the people...
Well, the people must be just dumb if they're like, oh my god, look, a giant eagle has landed. The only person that just dares to approach it is Farazan. But anybody could have just walked up to it. And then they would be like, look, it likes that guy. It likes Kemen.
Did it like him? I'm like, no. It wasn't like a dragon bowing down or anything. It was just an eagle going like...
Exactly. It just looked like a giant pigeon.
And then it just flew off. And they're like, it favors the guy that approached him.
Yeah. So, and it's like, Muriel was like miles behind, like blocked by this whole like rabble that had broken out. It's like, if she had wanted to try and approach it, she wouldn't have been able to. And also she's blind.
Yeah, so exactly.
That
wouldn't have helped.
Yeah. So imagine she approached it, but she needed like someone to guide her, and that guide like carried her down, and people could be like, look, it loves the guide because he's approached it as well. It's like just the logic was like non-existent.
If that's what they're going for, I think what would have made sense is Eagle doesn't arrive, the squabble breaks out, and then Farazan basically pulls out his sword and says like, silence, and then he stands at the window and he starts having a speech and kind of rallies the crowd, and then suddenly an eagle arrives behind him right by his side and gives him an owl. That would have been, but this was so random.
It was so random.
It was just, I don't know. Am I making sense? I need to go and watch other people's breakdowns because, like,
yeah, I know. It's
I don't know.
I don't know what I think about it.
It just didn't. It doesn't have any lore to back it up. So, anyways, that was unfortunately the end of everything we see in Numenor, because I thought that was pretty weak, the whole Numenor storyline. I'm sorry, but I like Numenor, but I didn't like it in this episode. It was weird. So let's get on to something that was a little bit better, which was Eregion. Now, I'm pretty sure it's better. I don't really remember myself. Let me look at my notes here. And we see Celebrimbor discussing with the dwarves about possible rings. He says, they shall be rings of power. So this is a little bit like the previous episode saying the Lord of the Rings. So that's probably a little bit clunkier than the Lord of the Rings line. I think the rings of power, like the way he says they shall be rings of power, I was like, okay.
I didn't think that was weird.
I thought it was weird.
Do you think it's weird?
Maybe I'm just so used to hearing the titles of stuff, and then whenever they say it, it's so jarring for me. If that wasn't the title of the show, it wouldn't have been jarring.
But like, we've spoken about the rings of power so much in not reference to the show, like we...
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But when he goes,
before
they
the show
shall be rings of power, I'm like,
I know, yeah. We had like loads of podcast episodes called The Rings of Power before the series even came out, because we went through all the different rings of power.
Go listen to them, guys. They're good episodes.
Check them out. But it's funny because if you look back on those episodes now, and it's like Rings of Power, and I was like, that wasn't even about the show. That was just about like, that was about the.
But we did know that it was called the Rings of Power.
Yeah, we knew that, but I mean,
so it's the play on words. It was to get the Rings of Power audience. And thank you for staying. Anyways, these were rings that are supposed to be supposed to provide power to heal the mountain for the dwarves. Celebrimbor wants Durin to pass this information onto his father. He wants to pass on the proposal, to which he responds, which I thought was really funny. You'd sooner convince an orc to sit for a sunbath than get the two of us in a room together.
I love
He's so class.
like Durin, like in season 1, I know a lot of people were against the skip the quail sauce, give me the meat and give it to me raw and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I understand why people are kind of going, that doesn't sound very Tolkien-esque, but I was like,
he's a dwarf.
I was like, I like it. It just sounds very kind of
it's
like
Tolkien to me. It's Tolkien to me. Like I know Tolkien wouldn't write that, but from what we've heard of Gimli in Peter Jackson's movies, he doesn't sound very Tolkien if you were to break down all of his lines. So that's what the dwarves...
Say that. Like, he does sound Tolkien.
No, but like still some of the stuff he says.
But you're talking about movies?
Yeah, Gimli from the movies, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
John Rhys Davies' performance. No, I mean like Gimli...
Oh, he's sitting there just like eating and burping and wiping his mouth with his beard and stuff.
I feel like if that movie came out now, people would be like, so disrespectful. I know people did say that back then, but like disrespectful to the dwarves, burping and I think this representation
I love it, I think it's
great. Like, and it still carries on from Gimli's style. So
yeah.
I love that.
No, I'm for it.
Anyways, Anatar butts in and tries to convince Durin that he... Sorry, what are my notes saying here? He mentions that Elrond speaks of Durin so fondly before saying that he is the wisest of all dwarves. And of course, I actually thought this at the time. Durin isn't convinced because like Elrond would never say such a nice thing about him. Not that he doesn't love and respect his friend. He wouldn't say that unless...
Yeah, I think that Halbrand, or now Anatar's, his like trick of like playing up to the ego of the person, it worked wonders with Celebrimbor, and he was like, oh well, this is going to be easy now, and he just tries the same thing with Durin, but Durin doesn't have the same ego that Celebrimbor does, and he also is like, I know my friend Elrond better than we have our relationship. You don't know it as well as maybe whatever you might think you do. So yeah, he kind of he's not as like sold straight away on this whole thing. He's like, I don't know, this fella, he seems a bit slimy.
Yeah, so he doesn't trust him. And like at the time, I was like, I love the dialogue. I love Durin, the way he's mistrusting of Anatar. But at the same time, I kind of left that scene thinking, I don't want Anatar to already be undermined and figured out.
No.
So like I loved the way he was done.
But I do believe completely that Durin will be like, who's this guy? And a bit wary of him as well.
But I hope he's kind of an enigma, and Durin he's not just like a good guy that susses out the bad guy. Like I want Durin just to be mistrustful of anyone.
Yeah.
And we saw that in the first season.
That's been fitting with his character as well, as I would say. So I'm happy enough with that.
Happy enough where we are now.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen where it goes from there. But anyways, Anatar uses the High King Gil-galad's forbidding of the forging of any more rings as a way of manipulating Celebrimbor to hide and lie to Gil-galad. So I thought that was really interesting. Like he's basically making Celebrimbor seem like the bad guy to himself to Gil-galad, if that makes sense. That doesn't really make sense. But
sorry, you're talking about when he wrote the letter.
Yes.
That was really cool.
And he's
so manipulative.
So manipulative. And then like even Celebrimbor is going up and he's like, do you know what? I'm going...
And he's like, this is my time.
Yeah, but like Anatar is like, Celebrimbor, what are you doing? As if like to try and stop him. Celebrimbor is like, no, I'm getting this done. And
he will not stand in my way. This is my moment. I apprenticed, I studied, and now I mastered my craft, I believe.
And he said like, I've waited an age for this and I'm not going to let him take it away from me. Talking about Gil-galad, which is very interesting because you can see him kind of bad-mouthing Gil-galad.
Nobody treats Gil-galad with any respect.
Yeah, but I get it in this moment. Yeah. Anatar is clearly spinning his webs.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's just one more person that's like, I have a direct order from my king and I'm just not going to follow it.
Yeah. I know this is it's kind of in the same plot because it's got Durin in it, so I'm just jumping over to, we see Narvi helps get Durin in to meet his father, and he apologizes in a really emotional scene, and he mentions Celebrimbor's offer. There's a really nice moment between the two Durins where they kind of finally make amends, and he mentions wait till your children grow up. And I thought that was a really nice scene.
It was lovely, yeah.
Between father and son.
I think, again, chemistry on screen, the Durans have it.
Chemistry.
We're big Kevin fans, guys.
Yeah. Yes, the Durans have it. The dwarves have it in general. Disa,
she's making her way to becoming my favourite part of this whole series.
But it was very interesting seeing Durin talk about Celebrimbor's offer in the rings, and then he switches with his father. Like, he switches positions from season 1, and he says that he doesn't trust.
Yeah.
And he says that maybe the advice that basically you gave me in season 1,
maybe you were right.
It was right. Yeah. And we know that.
What I'm really hoping is, we already know that kind of.
Well, I was going to say his father. We see from the trailers that his father wears a ring of power. He looks like he's going corrupt. So we already know that they're kind of switching places on this one.
Oh yeah,
the father is going with Celebrimbor's advice on the rings. Well, we see it at the end. Of the
and we know that he ends up wearing the ring, and we know that in one of the trailers, Durin the fourth, younger Durin, is like, give me the ring, and he's like goes up, and then his father like blasts him down some flight of stairs or something. So we do know that happens. And also I saw an interview with Peter Mullen, who plays the older Durin, and he said that basically while he was acting, he was trying to figure out like what angle to come at it, like, and he said that after a while he was kind of going. He said on set to like one of the screenwriters, "Oh, so am I like some sort of like junkie king?" And he said that those people on set were like, "Oh, you can't say that." And the screenwriter was like, "Yes, exactly. You're a junkie. Like, you're mad. You're craving this power."
Why was everyone so touchy-feely on the set?
I don't know. I think that they were like saying, "Oh, you can't use that kind of word," or something. I don't know. But
don't come to where I live.
Yeah,
surrounded by junkies.
Yeah, but I mean, I think. So he was just using like that as like a look. How am I as an actor's perspective? How am I coming at this? And it's kind of
like Gollum and Andy Serkis.
Yeah, similar to that, I suppose. Yeah, where you're just kind of like, it's this desire and this not just a desire. It's this like crazed need for this thing. And if you're saying, okay, I'm in this role, I'm a drug addict, I need to get my next fix. That's one thing. And he's kind of going, okay, I'm going to use those same kind of like that kind of same mindset as like, and that's obviously not yet, we're not going to get that yet, but I suppose that's the way he's going to go later on. Once he gets the ring, he's going to get completely obsessed with it, get way more greedy than dwarves usually are. And I just thought that was interesting, that was his kind of
it was really cool. I haven't seen that interview, so I will be checking that one out. And Peter Mullen, he's class, and he's got a cool voice.
Good. He's so good.
So that brings us to the very final scene of the entire the entire episode, and it's getting to see the 7 rings being crafted, and this includes Peter Mullen's Durin the Third and Durin the Fourth there. So the dwarves are helping, which is kind of new to the lore, because like it was all the rings were created by Celebrimbor and Anatar, except the 3. And now that's a very important message here, is that Anatar directly touches the Silmaril the Mithril that's going to be used to make the ring. So it's obviously important because he doesn't do any touching.
There was a weird moment where Celebrimbor wants to throw in like the last touch, and Anatar was like, "Give it to me." Yeah, and he does this weird sleight of hand where he like moves it from one hand to the other hand, and he like, I don't know what the purpose of that was, but he definitely before he drops it in, you can see him kind of almost like in his brain or in his face, he's like conjuring up a spell in his head, and then he drops it in, and it's so cool. He kind of stole Celebrimbor's thunder a little bit. Yeah, he was like, but I think I will put the star on the top of the tree.
Yes, exactly like that. But I did think it was good to show that the importance of it, because it is important to know that this is different to how the 3 rings were forged. It is Anatar that's actually coming into contact with the making of them. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the episode. So yeah, guys, you've heard our thoughts. Let us know what your overall thoughts are. But we'll get into this running theme that we're doing for these episodes. So best scene, worst scene. Johnny, what was your best scene or your best moment of the episode numero 3?
Right, I don't know. I did enjoy Shelob's lair.
Yeah,
I mean, just it wasn't like I'm using the word enjoy in a strange way there. Like, I wasn't like loving seeing spiders, but like it really made me like be on the edge of my seat.
Calms you down.
It's like a warm bath.
Yeah.
That scene. But like, you know, it made me feel nervous. The combination of the way it was shot with the music. I thought Maxim Baldry. I just never get his surname right. I'm like, Baldry? I thought he did a great job in it. I thought the CGI spiders were class.
Yeah, brilliant.
And I thought it was just, in general, terrifying. So, yeah, I'm going to give it to that one.
Cool. Yeah, I love the monster design for those spiders as well. I would say I really loved Damrod's introduction. I was surprised at how much I liked it.
Me too.
I loved his music. Short and sweet, his little introduction, but loved the voice, loved the music, the height. I thought the design looked great. And I also want to give a little mention to the scene where, what's his name, Belzegar or whatever goes, that's worth another ale. I love that. I just love the realism of that. So those are our favourite moments of the episode. So what about worst moment?
Numenor was weak in this week's episode.
Whole plot.
Yeah, the whole plot really. And then especially what we mentioned there at the end, where just the eagle landing and somehow someone was like, oh, that's clearly a sign that he prefers Farazan, when it was like, it's got nothing to do with it. And then in that whole same thing where we spoke about, it just doesn't look that impressive, the number of people that are there at the coronation. And also some woman comes up and smacks the queen during her coronation and nothing happens. The queen hugs her in response. A lot of it was like, why? What's going on? Like, what's happening?
It's just a lot of this stuff. It just feels like they're trying to show the audience how Muriel is feeling. I'm like, they can do that in a different way without someone smacking her, because there has to be repercussions for that. I'm sorry for that character, but
somebody speaking back to a queen could do the same job rather than smacking them in the face.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Imagine Joffrey getting smacked in the face at his coronation.
Yeah, it's just
like Joffrey just killed all the people standing beside that person, and then killed that person and all their family.
Yeah. I agree. That's my weakest part was the Farazan chanting. It was like Farazan.
Far-fetched is on, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. It was just kind of like, okay, are we trying to convince this room of 100 people, and what are they going to do? Tell everyone in Numenor what happened, that an eagle came, that we chanted Farazan.
And also, was it in that same episode they were like, when they were discussing like the trying to like overthrow or like to get the queen out, get Muriel out, and they were kind of going, yeah, we know that we have quite a few, but do we actually have that many? Like, do we actually have, more than 50% or whatever?
Yeah.
They're not sure. They've no idea of the numbers that they have that are on their side. And then they're like, this is the moment where we're going to start chanting his name when we're in a room with only like 100 people. It could be like 90% of them are Team Muriel because they're at her coronation.
Yeah.
They've made it to like well, I was going to say they made it to the inner circle, but it seems like
there is no
that is
it's
a square.
Yeah, it's one of those things. They're saying things, but they're not really showing it on screen. So
yeah,
I don't know. I still want to end on a positive note and say I did enjoy the episode. I think all the other storylines are going well. I'm liking Eregion, the Adar, even though it was very short, and the Southlands one was pretty good as well, but Numenor was a big letdown.
It was a big letdown, but I would say it's a letdown in an otherwise pretty good episode.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Very good.
I'd say that's probably that's my least. No, I'd say put that in the middle.
Best one is episode 2, then this one, and then episode 1.
Yeah, so guys, let us know what your rating is out of all the episodes so far, which is number 1, 2, and 3, and also what's your favorite moment and what is the worst moment from the episode. But thank you so much again for listening and for watching, if you are watching us on YouTube. So please let us know. Don't forget to leave comments, guys, and to like and to subscribe. Yes,
and do all those things.
Do that on Spotify, because you can do that now as well. And please
leave comments there now.
Yeah, exactly. And comment on YouTube as well. We'd love to see you there, and we'll try and respond to you as quick as we can. And we will see you all for the breakdown of episode 4. Look forward to talking to you guys next week.
4.
Yes.
3.
Okay. 4. All right. Bye, guys.
See you next time.